Main event and co-main event, for some people, did not go as expected. I think a lot of people lost some money last night. But as a result, the results have major ramifications across MMA. And to get into that now with me, Dizz from Talk MMA. You can follow him at Talk MMA, the premier insider, underground insider on Twitter in MMA. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. ESPN Radio, South Jersey. Josh Hennig. How's everybody doing this morning? Afternoon, whatever.
Well, you're an hour behind, so it's okay. But speaking of behind, so I just want to give you my theory, and then you can, and then, well, haha, very funny. I'm going to give you my theory, and then you can run with it and, interpret it, tell me I'm wrong, however you want to. To me, Ronda Rousey embodies the athlete who never evolved with her sport. She has never gotten better. Just because she looked like she was in better shape doesn't mean she's a better fighter. We say all the time in football, the guy who looks great in shorts and a t-shirt doesn't mean he can play in the NFL. Well, just because Ronda looks good in a sports bra and some underwear on a scale doesn't mean she's going to be a great fighter. And you saw, in my opinion, last night, a woman whose fight game has not evolved in 2-3 years.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you stick with a basic boxing coach, I mean, you're not going to involve, it's just a basic boxing coach and not an MMA coach. I mean, you're going to be at a stalemate, especially if you're the big fish in a little pond, which was the same problem that we've known, fighters who didn't ever evolve themselves, wrestling fighters such as Tito Ortiz, he never really evolved into a striker. He always was content with being the big fish in the little pond, and that's the type of syndrome that has happened to a lot of fighters. They peak, and they peak because they've got nobody else pushing them any further, any harder than what they can push themselves, and that's a problem. That's a problem for a lot of fighters. If they want to stay in the same place, then great, stay where you're at. If you want to evolve, you got to go somewhere else.
But why is she staying in the same place? I mean, what is this relationship she has with Edmonds? Because it seems like to me, he's just, like you said, a simple boxing coach. He's not someone who's going to elevate her game. It's not like she's gone to a place like Alliance MMA or AKA or American
or
Top Team. We're thinking the same thing. Or any of these places, or Black Zillions. She hasn't gone to any of these other places or Team Couture. She just stays in that one place. What did she expect was going to happen with her career?
She has got the same problem that I have, and I can resonate with this. She is loyal to an absolute fault. To an absolute fault. She doesn't want to crush anybody's feelings that's close to her. She doesn't want to look at somebody and say, hey, listen, you've done well for me to this point, but I really need to elevate, and I just don't. I don't think that you can take me there. And last night it was brutal. The fight with Amanda Nunes was brutal. No head movement. She kept her head on center line. There was no footwork. She circled in to Amanda Nunes' power hand, which is her right hand, instead of circling to her own right, Amanda Nunes' left. She really did. She didn't even shoot for a takedown or even make any attempts to grapple. She really had a less than Ronda Rousey type of night, what we expected. But in her, I'm not going to defend it too much, but a lot of this, she was built up by the media as well.
Well, not just the media, by Dana White. Dana White, he's the UFC president, but he is also the de facto promoter for the fights. And he's a guy who was running around saying Ronda Rousey's the greatest I've ever seen. Ronda Rousey's the face of women's MMA. He was the one who was pushing her out there. And he even said this week that, Ronda did a lot for us media-wise, and I understand why she doesn't want to do anything now. She's done more than what anyone else has ever done. So he kind of also pushed her to do it as well.
Yeah, he's a promoter. He's supposed to do that. You notice every time they win a fight, every time he has anybody who's in his main event, any guy who is in his main event, you notice every time that guy wins, well, suddenly that guy's the pound-for-pound best in the world. He's a promoter. That's what he's supposed to do. And no fault. You remember back in the day when Mauro Ranallo used to used to announce for Strikeforce. We knew that wasn't the best talent in mixed martial arts. We knew that wasn't the big leagues.
Sure.
But when he would rattle off catchphrases like, these are the best fighters in the world, that's what he's supposed to do. That's his job. That's Dana White's job. He's supposed to say he's got the best fighters in the world. He's supposed to say that their cash cow is number one. He's supposed to. He's not doing anything any other promoter wouldn't do. I would expect Scott Coker to say that Bellator has the best heavyweight in the world in Fedor Emelianenko. I expect, I expect World Series of Fighting, who has an event today on NBC, I expect Ray Sefo to say that Justin Gaethje is the best lightweight in the world. That's what they're supposed to do. That's their position.
We're talking with Dizz from Talk MMA. You can follow him on Twitter at Talk MMA, MMA Insider. Last night as well, I think we all focus on Ronda because, she's such a big name in the sport. The media's pumped her up. But Amanda Nunes, for 2 straight fights now, has looked absolutely amazing.
Man.
And let's remember, this is a woman, when she lost to Kat Zingano back in 2014, that was kind of a rough fight to watch because Amanda was still learning the fight game. She was still developing in some ways. And Kat was, won that fight and went on the fight for the title. But she's been on a streak now where she is just really growing into, I think, the best we've ever seen her. And I don't think she's even fully matured into the best fighter she's going to be.
She has absolutely starched 4 of her last 5 opponents. Shayna Baszler, Sarah McMahon, Miesha Tate, Ronda Rousey. Those are names that she's all finished. Now, no big deal with Shayna Baszler. I mean, ever since she went to, who also trains
with Ronda
Rousey, she's 0-3. She's 0-3 since she's been.
No, but Sarah was a big deal because Sarah McMahon's a grappler and she submitted her.
Shayna Baszler.
No, I'm saying when she beat Sarah McMahon.
Right. Well, of course, yeah. But Sarah McMahon's also. Sarah McMahon is also one of those types who she relied on her wrestling too much before she developed an overhand right, nice overhand right. And, she has learned now, and now since she's starting to come around a little bit more, she has learned that, hey, I guess I can't. Yes, I was a silver medalist in the Olympics in wrestling.
But I can't live off of that.
Maybe I do need a striking game. Maybe I do need some footwork here and can't just rely on my strength. And she's brutally strong, too. And submitted a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt in Alexis Davis just earlier this month. But even though Amanda Nunes is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt as well, she also tested the waters with her striking with Valentina Shevchenko, who is, she's been considered a premier striker. And then taking out Miesha Tate, then taking out Ronda Rousey. What a year she's had.
What do you think the future holds for the 135-pound division? Because, there's a lot of talk coming in. Well, from Ronda, the Holm, the Tate, now the Nunes, is someone going to hold on to this belt long enough? And I'm looking at Amanda Nunes, and I'm seeing a woman who can hold on to that belt, and I think she's going to help carry the women's MMA game at the 135-pound division to the next level, because before, like you said, you had a lot of women who, let's be realistic, they were one-dimensional. Ronda's a judo woman, McMahon is a wrestler, Shevchenko, she's a striker, Holmes a striker, Miesha Tate is a wrestler, whereas Nunes is coming in, and she's really one of the first women's MMA fighters to be diversified in multiple aspects of the MMA game.
All right. Well, let's look at what we got coming up here. I mean, Juliana Pena is going to be taking on Valentina Shevchenko here soon. Holly Holmes moved up to 145. She's kind of ran away from the 135 division. Raquel Pennington just she just beat Miesha Tate handily. I think we're looking at the list of the top 10 here so far. Liz Carmouche, Sarah McMahon, Betch Correa, Jermaine De Ramadani. Even if I said that right, I probably should ask her. It's wide open. It's anybody's fight on any given night in the 135 of the women's division. Any of these females, and I think Raquel Pennington proved that when she beat Miesha Tate, any of these females, any of these ladies can beat one or the other at any given moment. And I think that's what this does, and it just makes it a little bit more interesting. On the flip side of that, when you have a dominant champion, it also makes it very interesting to watch that champion and watch a star rise and see how far they can actually take it. And I think that's where there's a split in the fan base. There is 50% of the fan base wants to see a star rise all the way to the top. And then the other 50% doesn't want to see one dominant person. They want to see a mix-up. It does kind of make discussions interesting, and it does kind of, call for some backlash on Twitter when you have an opinion. Believe me, I know more than most.
Also have UFC 207. Real quick before I let you go, the bantamweight division is shaping up a little bit as well. Dominic Cruz loses his first fight in 13 straight fights in almost a decade to Cody Garbrandt. Also, TJ Dillashaw beat John Lineker, so it looks like it's going to be Dillashaw versus Cody No Love for the bantamweight title. But before you get to Garbrandt and Dillashaw, talk about Cruz, because I talked to him. I interviewed him early this week. He seemed very confident. He seemed very ready for this fight. And it looked like Cody just came in there and had the ultimate perfect game plan.
This was a good fight. This was a really good fight between the two of them. Cody Garbrandt came in and he was ready. I think the fight, now I'm not making excuses here. Cody won the fight. And in fact, I even scored him a 10-7 round after knocking Dominic down, I think 3 or 4 times in round 4.
Right.
But I think that the fight would have been a little bit closer had the headbutt incident in round 3 had not taken place. The headbutt opened up a nasty, you're going to need stitches clear across your eyebrow type of cut on Dominic Cruz's left eye yesterday. And you could even see the change. If anybody watches the third round again, you could see that it affected his depth perception. Usually Dominic, everything about Dominic is perfect. His haircut, the way he walks, the way he dresses.
Right.
He drives a GTR 35, which is personally my favorite car. And even his dog's hair is cut perfectly. I mean, this guy does everything perfect. Last night, after the headbutt, blood in his eyes, and, he's wiping blood out of his eyes. And I think, obviously, when you take a hit like that, you're slightly concussed. And, it messed with his depth perception. His jabs weren't landing. His counters weren't landing. His kicks, I think he fell after missing a high kick last night. So, yeah, I think it affected him very much, and he had a lot to recover from. So I think if this was an immediate rematch, I think this might look different, but tighter. If a fight can get any tighter. Hats off to Cody Garbrandt, which I want to say to your viewers as well, I was very touched and very moved by his kindness towards the young man Maddox, who was a leukemia patient. So I want to say that you can talk about closing cars all you want, but that stuff like that, I think, makes Cody Garbrandt more interesting, and he probably has his calling outside of his calling, helping motivate kids with degenerative diseases. I thought that was very special. Took his belt off, wrapped it around that child, and said, "This right here is the true champion," and gave a very lengthy speech at the press conference about how that young man changed his life and how it made him view things, in a different perspective on life. I thought that was a very special moment. Just thought that your viewers probably really deserve to know what kind of a champion they have in Cody Garbrandt at this moment.
Do you expect there to be a rematch between Cruz and Garbrandt next, or do you think Dillashaw will be next?
I think Dominic Cruz passed the buck last night. He said last night that he was okay with TJ Dillashaw getting the next fight. So, and Cody Garbrandt sounded like he was down for it. So I would say expect TJ Dillashaw versus Cody Garbrandt for that 135-pound title. Next.
Former champion versus current champion. Let's not forget, Dillashaw was the champion while Cruz was on the shelf.
And there's heat there. Cody Garbrandt and TJ have some heat towards each other, and they've been exchanging heat on Twitter over some alleged video that nobody has ever seen exist over Cody Carprint.
This totally sounds like a Team Alpha male feud, doesn't it not?
It does. It sounds, yeah, because it sounds very petty. And, well, you left the camp, I hate you. It really honestly, it almost sounds like a girlfriend who got mad because
I was just gonna say that. There's
yeah, it's like the librarian chick who got pissed because she got dumped for the cheerleader. So she just very upset and and lashing out very pettily.
You left our gym to go with Dwayne. How dare you?
Right. How dare you go with a guy who knows how to teach you to be a better striker?
Right.
Damn you.
Better striker, better fighter.
Right.
Meanwhile, Uriah Faber is living vicariously through Cody, like he's a proud father who blew out his knee his freshman year of high school.
That's what I said. Oh my gosh, I made that reference last night. I said Uriah Faber reminds me of Mr. Harbor from Varsity Blues. I made that exact reference last night, and I said living vicariously. Gee, wow, you and I are cut from the same cloth in the last 24 hours at least.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, I would say I would expect TJ Dillashaw up next. Expect the winner of Juliana Pena and Valentina Shevchenko to be facing Amanda Nunes next. Yeah, it's going to be interesting, that 135-pound division on both male and female side of things.
Absolutely. My friend, I got to let you go. I got to hit this commercial break. I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you giving your thoughts and insights, and Happy New Year.
Hey, Happy New Year to you guys and ESPN Radio, South Jersey. You guys have fun. Thanks for having me on.